Coming up next on the Backroads of Montana, we'll meet a rancher with an alternative business that's trying to take flight. Then we'll land in Great Falls with a special delivery. We'll cross one Montana river on an historic bridge and try not to cross paths with the namesake of Snake Butte. Finally, we'll see just how a wheel fits together in Deer Lodge. In this episode of Backroads, we'll come full circle.
Backroads of Montana is made possible with production support from the Greater Montana Foundation, Travel Montana, and the University of Montana, where the discovery continues.
Well, it's beautiful with spacious skies, has amber waves of green, and has purple mountains majestic that rise up out of the plains. And all across America, from sea to shining sea, where the mountains and the prairies meet, is a place I need to be. Home is where Montana is my home. From mountain peaks to prairie lands, the places I have known. And I'm bound to ramble, yes, I'm bound to roam. And when I'm in off the road now, boys, Montana is my home.
Hello, I'm William Marcus. Welcome to the Backroads of Montana, a program about the people and places that make Montana unique. This big fella behind me can mean only one thing. Today we're at the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman. A visit to the museum is an unforgettable journey through the 4.5 billion year history of the northern Rocky Mountain region. Representing the age of the dinosaurs is Big Mike. He was discovered in 1988 by amateur paleontologist Kathy Wankel while she and her family were boating at Fort Peck. The excavation resulted in the largest and most complete skeleton of a T-Rex ever found. Using a mold created from the bones, it became the world's first bronze life-size T-Rex. Big Mike is dedicated to the memory of Mike Malone, the 10th president of Montana State University. Many scientists theorize that birds evolved from dinosaurs, or are at least a close relative. Birds play a prominent role in our first Backroad story. It's about a central Montana rancher and his family, and an alternative business that might help them keep their connection to the land. Tom Spika's father bought this land in 1935. The family's been here ever since. But these are tough times on the Spika Ranch. The drought, the livestock prices, the debt.
What worked for him for his 80 years didn't work anymore.
Like many Montana ranchers, Tom needed extra income to make ends meet. For 10 years, he worked in town. He moved into a management job. Eventually, the only work he was doing with his hands was typing on a computer.
I really felt like I was missing out on the creativity and the ability to, at the end of the day, see something that I had constructed, that I had taken raw material and turned it into something tangible.
It got Tom to thinking. He went to visit his mother in a nursing home and noticed everyone's interest in the aviary. Tom began to look at the ranch in a different way.
It's just a matter of opening up your thinking process a little and saying, okay, what can we do with this that's new and different?
His idea? Handcrafted, furniture-quality aviaries.
I wanted to be able to build something that was stylish and elegant, that you could put into some of the finest environments and actually have it complement the decor. It's definitely something different here in the middle of Montana. Everybody's used to raising cows and sheep and grain, but raising birds is just a little bit different.
They discussed the possibilities at the dinner table. It seemed like a good idea, but Tom couldn't do it alone. The whole family had to buy into the business plan. While Tom would build the aviaries, his wife Carol would run the ranch.
I have pretty much learned to run everything on the farm now. But it's taken me 14 years. It's not like I've always done this.
I can't imagine going through my life without her, because she's just been so tremendously important to every aspect of what we do. And that's the way marriages should be. Unfortunately, there's way too many that aren't.
But Carol and Tom weren't the only ones at the dinner table. They needed even more help to make this plan work. That's where the kids come in. Katie and Becky are the youngest daughters.
Sweep and scrub, and I have to do dishes. Katie does laundry, feed the dogs, do the chickens. I don't like to do them though. And if Dad needs me to help him with the computer or down at the shop, I'll do that. But just pretty much anything that I can do that needs to be done.
We want the kids to be a part of what we do, whether it's the farm work or the housework or the aviary business, because I want them to grow up knowing they have the ability to do many things.
I want to be with them as much as I can, because they're already, Kate's in junior high this fall, and they aren't going to be here very much longer. And we enjoy them. They're fun kids.
The new business didn't get off to a good start. Tom's workshop burned to the ground. But friends and neighbors pitched in to build an even bigger workshop. Back up and running, Tom could custom build aviaries. He built them out of oak, birch, poplar, and barnwood. His daughters helped. Cousins helped. He built big ones. He built small ones. Then his creativity kicked in.
We enjoy stuff like this. This is part of the fun of design.
It's the vintage popcorn cart aviary. Not only is it functional, it has another important feature: easy maintenance. An important point if you want to keep your orange weavers and tri-colored nuns happy. This is the new livestock on Tom's family ranch.
Working with reproduction and trying to successfully market the offspring, that's really not a lot different than what we've done with cattle and sheep for the past 20 years.
The aviary business still reflects everything Tom learned as a rancher. The long hours, the hard work, the setbacks. It's all worth it to keep his connection to the people and the place he loves.
All of my memories are of this land, and it's almost what you would call family.
Tom's ranch is always changing. The bad news is he sold most of the livestock, and for now they won't be raising any more. The good news is the aviary business is growing, and Tom is able to employ 3 of his ranching neighbors part-time to help the business expand. Right now, we're in the Paw History Hall at the Museum of the Rockies and an exhibit entitled Montana on the Move. It celebrates the personal lives of the ordinary people who settled here. One novel way they got about was in this peat and pole air camper. It was a mail-order kit assembled in 1928 by Tom and Ben Helmerichs of Rygate. Much of the construction was done in their kitchen. Ben's wife Sylvia sewed the fabric covering on her treadle sewing machine. It's powered by a Ford Model A automobile engine and had a cruising speed of 70 miles per hour. The same year that Tom and Ben built their peat and pole, air travel was changing the lives of all Montanans, while one adventurous 9-year-old boy hitched a ride into history. For several minutes, it was just a dot above the Missouri River. Slowly, the modern shape and distinctive orange color of the Fokker Super Universal soared into view. In the cockpit, pilot Ray Elsmore throttled back the noisy Pratt & Whitney engine and slowly circled Great Falls. That was the signal. All across town, whistles and fire alarms blared the news that Montana's first airmail was about to touch down.
In August 1st, 1928, there was an article in there that likened it to the bringing on of the telegraph and also to the driving of the Golden Spike completing the railroad.
A handful of enthusiasts still lingered at Vance Airfield in Black Eagle. A crowd of 2,000 had dispersed earlier when a rumor circulated that the airplane would be delayed for hours. Elsmore was late. Fueling problems and mountain showers slowed his progress, and the low clouds obscured his only navigation point, the stack at the Anaconda Copper Company. But it was hard to stop an experienced bush pilot like Elsmore, or the aircraft that National Parks Airways had chosen for its fleet.
It was the Boeings of their day. They were airplanes that flew nonstop across the U.S., and they're an extinct make now. You know, it's like the dinosaurs. They're gone now.
Elsmore landed with over 10,000 letters from Salt Lake City and points between in just 6 hours. It used to take 6 days. The crowds returned, as did a throng of dignitaries, led by Great Falls Mayor Harry Mitchell. The excitement of Montana's first airmail was infectious.
It was a personal thing for me. My father drove the stagecoach, the jerkage stagecoach, when they brought the first airmail down to the post office in Great Falls.
To enhance the historic value of the moment, the mail and the dignitaries were loaded into 2 ancient stagecoaches. For security, a group of cowboys rode escort.
Archie, Blue, get up, get up.
As they started down Bootlegger Hill, 9-year-old Bill Tonkovich, his brother Tom, and 5 friends jumped aboard one coach. The cowboys riding escort cracked their bullwhips. After all, hitching a ride on a mail coach was a federal offense.
As we come around the curve going down, they slowed down enough. We couldn't resist the temptation to jump into this coach, and I sat right here. I was the last one to get on. I was the youngest and probably the most scared. And the posse come after us horseback, and they kept whipping their whips towards the stagecoach. They were just kidding, I think.
But instead of taking the boys to jail, as the cowboys half-heartedly threatened, Bill and his friends remained in the parade, across the 10th Street Bridge, along River Road, under the railroad trestle to the post office, to the applause of Great Falls residents. Within a week, airmail delivery became routine. National Parks Airways added passenger service, Great Falls to Salt Lake City for only $50, and in Black Eagle, an innocent prank grew into a local legend. Like many boys of that era, Bill Tonkovich grew into a soldier. Fluent in both Croatian and German, he served throughout war-torn Europe, helping to rebuild local governments. After the war, he returned to Black Eagle and worked for 30 years under the stack that guided in the first airmail.
This is the side I sat on, so I'm going to get in here again.
When John Rein and Vern Seidel organized a Wagon Fest to commemorate Montana's first airmail, they hadn't forgotten Bill and were lucky enough to locate the original 2 stagecoaches. In a sense, even the same airplane was there. The tail section of this restored Fokker is from the original airmail delivery plane.
I've used it, a couple examples, as a giant picture puzzle with square pieces that all fit together. Each one you dropped in, they had a special place to go, but the next one was right there along with it.
When John's puzzle was finished, once again the dignitaries returned. So did the children's curiosity. And Great Falls celebrated with the same enthusiasm that had soared 73 years earlier. For Vern Seidel and John Rein, the months of preparation and research really paid off. Their airmail reenactment was one of the highlights of the Montana State Fair. To capture the magic of the moment, Vern created this beautiful handmade display that he gave our Backroads crew. Thanks, Vern. Right now, we're in the kitchen of the historic Tinsley House. It's part of the Living History Farm here at the Museum of the Rockies. William and Lucy Tinsley came to Montana Territory in the 1860s, met and married, and built this 2-story log home near Willow Creek, southwest of Three Forks. The home was moved here in 1986 and restored to reflect its turn-of-the-century appearance. A working farm, a blacksmith shop, and an heirloom garden all make an ideal setting for interpreting the rural lifestyle of late 19th century Montanans and learning about history. That's what we did on our latest trip to eastern Montana, when we found 2 interesting places that are a part of our past. This massive steel structure still casts an imposing presence over the Missouri River. The Snowden Bridge was completed in 1913. At the time, it was the longest lift-span bridge in the world. Navigation was rare on the Missouri River by then, but government regulations required a drawbridge or lift bridge span the river. The Snowden Bridge stretches 296 feet across the Missouri, with towers over 100 feet high. Its twin is located a few miles east, just across the border in North Dakota. The Fairview Bridge was built to cross the Yellowstone. Both bridges were to provide more direct routes of travel and connect a growing railroad system. Ultimately, more cars used the bridges than boats or trains. A signal system was used to get across the one-way bridge. Mary Mercer remembers the experience of crossing.
Well, for a time, there was a light, so you knew there was a train coming, and so you waited. But then it got so that wasn't working, so you just had to hope that you'd get across before a train came. It was kind of exciting, I guess you could say.
In December 2001, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad donated the Fairview Bridge to a nonprofit group for preservation. As for the Snowden Bridge, the railroad still uses part of that line to deliver coal to Wyoming, so they maintain ownership of the bridge. Back in town, there's more history to be learned at the Mondack Heritage Center. Volunteers designed the building, which was completed in 1984. It features 2 art galleries and 2 libraries upstairs, and a replica turn-of-the-century Main Street downstairs. Area residents donated items to fill the displays. You can see a homestead shack or head into town and visit the general store. The doctor's office is complete with authentic and painful tools from the past. Another popular feature is Brand Alley. Farmers and ranchers from the 7 surrounding counties have provided their unique stamps of approval.
We have a lot of school kids come in during the year, especially in the springtime, and when you see these little kids come in and they walk down the brand and they'll go, "That's Grandpa's, that's ours." You know, it becomes part of their heritage.
You can visit the Mondack Heritage Center in the afternoon, Tuesday through Friday from 1 to 5, 1 to 4 on weekends. This exhibit is called Enduring Peoples. It celebrates the native cultures of the Northern Rockies and Plains. For thousands of years, different groups of native people gathered plants, hunted buffalo, and lived in what would become Montana. This exhibit traces their evolution from mobile hunter-gatherers to the introduction of the horse, and eventually the arrival of white people, the disappearance of the buffalo, and the creation of reservations. Members of the Gros Ventre Assiniboine tribe are rebuilding their buffalo herd. Nearly 300 head graze beneath a looming rock wall known as Snake Butte. Carbon dating suggests there was human activity at Snake Butte 10,000 years ago.
Hi, my name is Darrell Martin, and I'm the tourism director for Fort Belknap Tribes, home of the Gros Ventre and Assiniboine tribe. And today we're going to start out with some history about Snake Butte, which is in my background. And it's been a center point for the Native American history and the culture and our ways. And it's also home of the buffalo that we have in our pasture. We're on the southern end of Snake Butte, facing the Little Rocky Mountains and the Bear Paw Mountains. And there's a lot of campsites in this area. We're standing here by the teepee rings, and these are hundreds of years old. And this would be a family group. And there's another lodge, 2 lodges behind me. And the way they would set their lodges up is the door would face east all the time to greet the sun. And also it served another purpose for the weather, so the rain wouldn't blow in. The weather's always coming from the west. And they would typically use this site year after year, because the tribes around here, the Gros Ventre and Assiniboine tribes, were nomadic tribes. And they would just follow the buffalo herds. These are pictographs, and these are, I don't know how many years, 100 years old or more. And they're authentic because you could tell they're dug in the rock itself. And if you see here, it looks like a hand, but it's actually a prairie chicken or a sage grouse. And that was the sign for that. And of course, here's a buffalo hoof, and there's another buffalo hoof over there. And this is a drainage, a picture of a drainage of where the buffalo would actually go. The buffalo is a very sacred animal to our people, and they're actually the staff of life for our people. Clothing, food, the tribe still hold them in high regards. We had 610 and we sold some off to other tribes to help bring back the buffalo. The rock you see behind me here is a legend told to me by an elder by the name of Harris Rock, and he's the Assiniboine. And the legend is the Snake Butte is the mother of all snakes. It's the home of all snakes. And in the morning, she would take this big rock up and lift it up, and all the snakes would come out to feed during the day. At night, she would call the snakes back and open the rock up, and the snakes would go back into the hole, and she would cover them for safekeeping. That's just one of the history points of, and one of the myths of Snake Butte. And it's a very sacred butte for our people, the Grovant and the Assiniboine tribes.
From a mile away, Snake Butte looked like a dry, parched stretch of geology. But on its western edge, Darrell treated us to some of the coldest, sweetest water we've ever tasted. More than 50 gallons a minute flow from this natural spring. In the early 1900s, modern Montanans traveled the backroads in a variety of wagons and carriages. From the elegant stylings of a Studebaker Surrey, or the spring wagon which delivered mail to rural areas, or the Concord stage which carried travelers through Yellowstone Park on a boat-like ride over mountainous terrain, or the Columbus buggy which featured mass-produced springs and rubber tires for a comfortable ride. In Deer Lodge, we were lucky when the prison museums and the Grant Coors Ranch allowed us to take the historic Drummond to Helmville stage out for a spin. And if anything went wrong, we had the right man for the job along with us.
B. Bruce. It really rides pretty nice. Heck, you know, it's not a Cadillac. It's an old-day horse-drawn vehicle, you know, and their days they were probably really something.
It's a beautiful day for a ride in this historic stage that made the mail run between Drummond and Helmville over a century ago.
It's smooth on the grass, and it's a little noisy on the gravel.
Our important passenger is Dave Watkins. If something bad happens to this stage, say a wheel blows out, Watkins can fix it. He's helping revive the craft of the wheelwright.
Wheelwright is somebody that builds or repairs wheels. But in its true sense, a wheelwright is somebody that builds the wheels, the wooden part of the wheel only. From that point on, it goes to a fitter or it goes to a blacksmith.
But Watkins does it all. He creates the wheels, completely restores wagons, and even teaches this vanishing trade. Watkins was trained as a mechanic and then became a vocational education teacher. He taught at MSU Northern in Havre and at the Montana State Prison in Deer Lodge. In 1988, Watkins became interested in the way old wooden wagon wheels worked. He became an amateur historian and did a lot of research. Watkins bought some antique tools, talked to other wheelwrights, and found notations in old books and catalogs.
This particular one is pretty well used, and it says automotive supplies. I'd looked at that several times, and I kept overlooking it until I seen blacksmith tools and equipment. I was exceeding the
By 1996, Watkins was semi-retired and creating wheels. His work was becoming known, and others were interested in learning.
But you do want that bolt through the rim to be directly between the two spokes.
As close as you can, yeah. But
folks of all ages from all over the West were coming to the garage just outside Deer Lodge to learn the Watkins method.
When you get to that point, you're done. That's as good as I can get it. And you tell yourself if you're lying.
The search for history brought Big Fork's Ed Townsend to the classes.
It always fascinated me to see the workmanship that was put into them originally by people 100 years ago that had very few of the tools we have nowadays.
Dale Sparks is back from North Dakota for his second workshop.
Rebuilt a wagon of my own. Then the more you do, the more questions you have, so I had to come back and learn a little more.
No,
The students begin the day with a refresher course in math.
In terms of measurements, if you learn to build a wheel, you will fully understand all functions of pi. You're working from diameters to circumferences or radiuses and back and forth.
The process of making a wooden spoked wheel begins in the middle with a hickory hub. The hub is lathed down to the correct size for metal rims to go around. The rims are heated up and hammered into place. Then the notches are drilled for the spokes.
The spokes can vary anywhere from 8 is to high as, I've seen as high as 18 on each wheel.
The spokes are cut, planed, and sanded to a specific shape.
Spokes are oval shaped, not pure round, and they have a sharp point on one side. That sharp point goes to the outside of the wheel.
Once the spokes are inserted into the hub, you attach the wooden rim, called a felly.
The rim come in two forms. One is a steam bent, which covers half the wheel. The other is an felly style, which covers a diameter of 2 spokes.
That's when it's time for the metal tire. The piece is heated, set in place, and hammered onto the wood.
Don't.
Temperature control is essential for this step.
If you get the wheel too hot, of course, you're going to burn or burn the wood on the tire or on the wheel. If you get it too cold, it doesn't expand enough, and you have a tough time getting it on.
After a cool bath, hard rubber is sometimes inserted for a quieter ride on pavement. Once all the hard work is done, the wheels are ready for a road test.
Magic. Yep.
Watkins also restored this old Surrey-style carriage. He says he's happy to be able to keep the craft of the wheelwright rolling on and on.
In terms of the skills, I think they were very near lost. To me, it's quite important. I enjoy it.
In addition to fixing wheels and wagons and helping revive the craft of the wheelwright, Dave Watkins has begun making decorative windmills. Even though he says he's not an artist, his creative work stands as a beautiful reminder of times gone by. Well, that's our show. We'd like to thank Shelley McCamey and Dee Seidel for all their help here at the Museum of the Rockies, and of course its director, Marilyn Wessel. The museum is open year-round. It's only closed for holidays. For information about displays and programs, call 994-DINO. If you have a Backroads story for our crew, drop us a line at the Backroads of Montana, the University of Montana, Missoula, Montana, 59812. As long as you keep watching, we'll keep covering the Backroads of Montana. I'm William Marcus. See you next time. To order a copy of this or other Backroad shows, or for more information, visit us online at www.montanapbs.org or call 1-800-227-5836.
Backroads of Montana is made possible with production support from the Greater Montana Foundation, Travel Montana, and the University of Montana, where the discovery continues.
And I'm bound to ramble, yes, I'm bound to roam. And when I'm in off the road now, boys, Montana is my home. Coming in off the road now, boys, you know I'm heading home.